It's definitely not the Indian version of Knives Out, but it is a pretty good and atmospheric whodunit, and I'm always up for something that stars both Nawazuddin Siddiqui and Radhika Apte.
इतना आसानी से नहीं जाएंगे हम डरते नहीं किसी से।
Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage, and RAAT AKELI HAI, which can be translated as The Night is Lonely, is a new Hindi language crime drama that was just released on Netflix. More specifically, it is a whodunit, in which the small-town inspector Jatil Yadav, played by Nawazuddin Siddiqui, is summoned to investigate the murder of a powerful patriarch and respected businessman. At first, one might assume that it plays out in a similar classic whodunit fashion as last year's Knives Out, but RAAT AKELI HAI is less about constant twists and turns, though there are definitely some good ones in it, and more about its themes of patriarchy, class differences and systemic issues. Also, its tone is very different from Rian Johnson's playful approach to the genre. RAAT AKELI HAI was written by Smita Singh, and it marks a directorial debut by Trehan, who has worked mainly as a casting director in the past. And I guess that also shows in this film, because the casting is pretty flawless. Nawazuddin is front and center. There's this great and intense prologue that shows us a horrific crime that happened 5 years ago, and then there are some smaller cutbacks that depict the events certain people are telling Nawazuddin's character about, but apart from that we follow him in basically every scene. And with him we make our way and try to connect the dots in a web of many different characters that make up this secretive family. Many have just a few scenes, but they found the right actors to make this rather dire world feel real. RAAT AKELI HAI is a very serious film, and it has this brooding vibe to it. Yet it also contains a nice dose of humor that feels very organic, because it completely stems from Nawazuddin's character. Not only is he a hard-working inspector who won't take shit from anyone, but he's also still a bachelor, and a rather frustrated one at that. He has very high expectations, or rather a very clear expectation what kind of woman he wants to marry, and in that regard he could also be described as prejudiced, which is something that he has to come to terms with throughout the movie. The few interactions that Jatil has with his mother, played by Ila Arun, are great. Both of them are so natural together, and you can really feel the frustration but also the deep bond of them. And this boiled up anger of Jatil is something that Nawazuddin is perfect at bringing to the table. It's also very apparent in the scenes that he has with his deputy, especially an early scene at the restaurant where he can't stand the looks of eating noodles. In his eyes you just can't look dignified eating them. Radhika Apte plays Radha, the new wife and former mistress of the murdered patriarch, and from the beginning she's an obvious suspect. To the family, who don't want all the property fall into her hands, but also for the rest of the police, who wants to close the case as fast as possible. There's this tension between Jatil and Radha from the beginning, and it's not really a spoiler, but there's also this growing affection. But it's not played out in this broad, tacked-on romance angle. It is rather understated, and what's more important to the film is the way women, especially if they belong to a lower class, are treated, and how this system is maintained. Even by other women, like the old lady played by Padmavati Rao, who keeps repeating that there needs to be a new man in their home, and who is extremely protective of her son Vikram, played by Nishan Dahiya. It's nice to see a character like that of Nawazuddin, because he has his own convictions of honor and dignity, but he's also able to see the injustice, and therefore he only arrests Vikram at one point and not Radha. Sure, maybe partly because he falls for her, but also because he knows that someone like Vikram, a man with powerful connections, will be bailed out immediately, but a woman like Radha, who gets insulted as a whore and who gets determined about by others, probably won't get out again and won't get justice. Another important side character is the young housemaid Chuni, played by Riha Shukla, and the movie again portrays how much powerful people decide about the lives of others. RAAT AKELI HAI has a very dark atmosphere, and it depicts its themes with care. At the same time, it's maybe also a little bit too uneventful, and some characters are just so clearly marked as corrupt and shady that it's not all that surprising how certain things turn out. It's definitely gripping enough, and Nawazuddin is always delightful to watch, because he's just one of the most interesting faces in Indian cinema, period, for me. But I think RAAT AKELI HAI could have been a little bit tighter. Its runtime of 2.5 hours is really pushing it a bit too far, and the movie isn't completely able to uphold its tension. The pace is very slow in general, which is fine, because it immerses you in Jatil's investigation and the dark and mysterious atmosphere, but it gets a little bit bit lethargic with time, which is why I think it makes a good one-time watch, but I'm not sure if I would ever watch it again. So in German I'd say, RAAT AKELI HAI ist ein gut gemachter und toll gespielter Mörder-Krimi mit einem wundervollen Nawazuddin Siddiqui und wichtigen Themen. Etwas spannender und schneller erzählt hätte er aber sein können. I give RAAT AKELI HAI 7 out of 10. It's more like 6.9, but I don't do that.
कोई भी हो सकता है, हमसे ज़्यादा हिम्मत वाला, हमसे ज़्यादा त्रस्त, पर ऐसे किसी को हम तो नहीं जानते.
Alright, that's it like always. Comment below and let me know what you think about RAAT AKELI HAI. And also let me know what is your favorite film with Radhika Apte. You can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram and Letterboxd, and also on Patreon, simply at the Jimmy Cage. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like. And make sure you hit that bell for all I have to tell.